What was this? Nielsen. I don't understand. There will be some estimations, but after the midterm. This will be graphical, maybe estimations or graphical illustration, but only multiple choice, as I said to you. I'm trying to make it test and find a midterm exam. I will have some calculation, but of course, this is again in the test format, in the multiple choice format,
Okay,
because
sir.
we are doing always classical exam, but you have to put test, okay? And you have to do
Okay, sir.
one
Okay,
or
sir.
two assignment. Maybe you have to do your assignment either. You understand your assignment. You have to put some assignment,
Okay, sir.
do it.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any question?
Yes, sir.
No, thank you.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
What is that?
Put off your microphone, bully.
Should,
sir.
yes.
Hi, hello. Can you guys hear me?
How are you? How is everything?
I'm okay. How are you doing, sir?
I'm
I
fine. We are good. Oh,
I wanted to ask when the assignment are we doing the assignments after the exam, the midterm?
Yes, yes. We have after the next week, not next week. You said you don't want a next week, isn't it? After
yes,
the,
yes,
but
sir.
After
next,
next week.
no, next week I will have some theoretical part again, but maybe I will put you the tariff calculations, and maybe in the midterm I can put these calculations either. How to
Okay.
estimate the tariff,
When is
tariff
the
calculations.
when is the exam, sir?
It's on
Exam?
1st of May.
Oh, first
No,
of
no,
okay.
no. After next week, not this
After
week.
next week.
After year
Okay,
after.
8th
Do
of
you want?
May.
Do you? Midterm, and then of course in June probably the final exam. Okay,
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 sir.
sir.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
sir.
you're welcome. Do I have to start now?
Yes, you can start now.
Okay,
Yes, you can start now. You can start now.
okay, let's go.
Okay.
Do you see? I put the international equilibrium and terms of trade. Are you able to see this?
No,
No.
sir.
It will comes.
No, we
It will
can see.
come.
We can see now.
You can see.
Okay.
You are able to see.
So we cannot.
You cannot
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We cannot see. We
because
cannot
I
see.
have already uploaded. You are able to see or not?
No. We can
No,
see. No.
you can't.
We
No,
cannot.
no, no.
Interesting. Ah, okay. How about now?
Nothing. No.
No.
No, no, no.
No
Oh, I have
changes.
to. I will quit and come again, okay? Because I think there is a problem with the connection.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Do you guys want me to teach you?
Yes.
You can call me Doctor Dem. Doctor Dem, okay? I can take this class.
Mama, Mama,
Yes, Nelly.
fully with this show. Fully with failure of us.
Sana geldim. Kayıtın mulai wah.
Yes, yes. You are seeing my slides? Do you see my slides? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, super. As I said to you today,
Yes, now we can see now. We can see.
I know. Today I will give you the terms of trade, and then after some more chapters, because in international economics we have a little bit more complicated theoretical applications related to this international trade and international theories. As you know, last lecture we have exercised some graphical illustration which you didn't get probably very well because this is new for you. I will enlarge this to you today, you then understand probably better. Therefore, let's go to the, I will use my pointer because this is easy for me. You, after changing this, you are seeing this indifference curve. As you know, in the might be done this indifference curve comprehensively, and you know probably better from our micro. Do you remember the indifference curve?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. As you know,
Yes, sir.
indifference curve is this graphic. This is of course not a single consumer, but we are concentrating to the application of the indifference curve. Therefore, the indifference curve is, of course, directly related with taste of consumers. Indifference curve shows the various combination of two goods as it is given as you need wheat and auto, and as much as you are moving on this curve from A to B, from B to C, from C to D, from D to E, you are able to satisfy your combination. This will give you the similar, of course, satisfaction with different combination of wheat and auto, which is, of course, not illustrated here, but you have, of course, here, as you are remembering from our former lectures, budget constraint or budget line, and any point of this indifference curve will give the, of course, consumer or aggregate level all consumers similar satisfaction. Let's say in, let's say, Turkey or in Morocco, in Nigeria, people prefer to eat more wheat and, of course, drive less car. Therefore, consumption of the wheat is more and of the auto is less, and it can be realized at point E. This means you have this space to distribute or to export more auto than wheat because your wheat consumption is more, isn't it? It's graphical illustration. And when you are understanding from this point of view, you are observing this indifference curve is negative related between wheat and auto, because when you want to reduce from A to you, of course, terms of trade will be replaced between these two and reduced from meat to auto. And when you are reducing meat, you can enlarge the auto. Therefore, there is negative relation as you are observing here, and it is, of course, inversely proportional, isn't it? You are observing this graphic, and due to this reason, this indifference curve is the map of the country's profile. Having this much of consumption, as I said to you on point A, then you have the chance to export more auto, because in your country, auto consumption is less, and of course production there is, as you are observing here, large and increase towards the other nation. And this is the reason why we are having international relations in our countries with this aspect. And indifference curve, as I said, it is negatively inversely related and negatively, of course, related. The slope of this curve is negative. And indifference curve, as you are observing here, is convex to the origin because it is belly shaped. It is directly, of course, convex to the or the origin. And as you are understanding, this is then of course realized because of the marginal rate of substitution between wheat and auto is of course decreasing rate realized wheat production to enlarge and increase the auto production. And this is then of course marginal substitution rate, which is also negative. And the indifference curve here, as you are observing here, is representing the level of the such to you or the people who are living in this country to prefer some goods. And we are here, of course, as I illustrated to you, creating a scenario between wheat and auto production and, of course, consumption. In wheat consumption is higher and auto consumption is less. And due to this reason, we are expecting to realize our trade relations towards to the auto export. And we concentrate to this graphical illustration. We are trying to make some reasonable graphical illustration with this combination, which is illustrated on this indifference curve. And as you observe, the production possibility frontier is tangent to the indifference curve. This will then bring you the better understanding where the country's profile exactly realized. And at point E here, do you see this graphic? You have the optimal bundle, so-called the optimal production and optimal consumption for this country. And it is supposed to be, there are some meat surplus and there are some auto surplus, which can be exported to, of course, wheat and auto consumption in this country is supposed to be somehow equally distributed, not too much auto consumed than wheat, and it is, of course, it is parallelly realized. And it is supposed that there is more production in this country and less consumption. Therefore, this is, of course, creating a surplus, and it should be exported to the other country. When you are looking to this graphic, you are observing, our understanding, you should export at point H or G or at point indifference curve in any direction where it is realized. The consumption and of course production is higher than this indifference curve. And at point E, where the indifference curve 2 is tangent to the production possibility frontier or the production curve of this understanding that this country is, of course, equilibrium is realized sufficiently and satisfying the country's performance. And point F, where the indifference curve 3 is in this position, we are understanding the country's performance is requiring to increase and enlarge more production to cover the point F, because consumption is less than production is less than consumption, and it should be enlarged, and there is a space if the consumption curve or the indifference curve for this country realize at point F, and it should be enlarged and increase in this direction for covering the in this country for the consumer. And this is one, of course, scarcity of the economy. At indifference curve 1, there is surplus. At indifference curve 2, there is equilibrium between the indifference curve and the production possibility frontier. And indifference curve 3, where the point F is illustrated, there is less production, there is scarcity in this country, and the need of these consumers in this direction. Therefore, when you are looking to this graphic, you should be able to understand and analyze this kind of course, introduction or information for any country. And when you are looking to this curve, if this E point is transferred to the point A, let's say the point A is now realized, or point D is here, point D, then you are understanding in this country the basis for trade should be realized in any direction. If it is point A, we are understanding the wheat production is more and auto so sufficiently, but the consumption here is more than auto consumption. Therefore, auto production should be exported towards to the other nations, either at point D or point C. It is depending to the country's performance as much as possible. Therefore, at point E, if we are supposing the country's performance realized, there is 23 unit or ton of wheat consumption, and similarly 14 auto or 14 piece of auto is produced in this country and consumed. A similar amount of auto should be exported because there is more produced food auto, in this country, which should be exported because in this country auto production is not sufficient. Therefore, to find other country destination to export this surplus in auto direction. And when we are creating any relation between other countries, let's say in Canada or in Turkey or in Nigeria, the expected so-called the tangent point can be realized at point B or point D or point C. Let's say it is realized at point B because we have surplus and we want from this surplus and we want to export all to the Canada. But we are understanding that in Canada is also similarly auto production is realized and there are sufficient production in this country. Due to this reason, the Canada market cannot be realized at point B and it can be realized at point C because it is shifting your production from B to C, because while you are expecting to enlarge in inclusion, it can be realized if your production realized at point E in the first phases or point C, so point A, then you are expecting that this production should be enlarged and increased to C if it is at point A. Therefore, the bilateral relation should be realized regarding to your preferences. If you are in point A, probably the point C not the best possible. You are enlarging your wheat consumption and you are reducing your production and of course consumption in your country from 14 to 9, and you are enlarging your production if it is in A from 320 to 65, which is reducing your auto production, and this is not, of course, not good scenario in this given example. Therefore, let's suppose that your country's production in the first place realized at point D, and then after you are having trade relations, it is moving first B because you want to enlarge all surplus to the other nations. But as I said to you, it cannot be realized at that level, but point A or C or E, because it is depending to the imported country's capacity to absorb your export. And if it is so, then you are of course moving from B to A or B to C or B to E, and this will then reduce somehow your production, but it is of course giving you a space to enlarge your capacity in your economy for the wheat and absorbing the other countries' production in the auto for creating some spaces for your country. Therefore, it is better to create reasonable trade relations for, if it is at point A, to shift to D, then your space will become from 14 to 18, and this is then of course export from your country to other Canada, and this then of course from D to A you are of course wheat production, from 290 to 323, and this is then of course creating some spaces to import from other countries. Therefore, it is very important to understand where you are going to create your combination in the market for creating and enlarging market for your products, because at point T, as you are observing, you are creating 290 for the wheat product, 18 hour for the consumption either. But when you are shifting your point from B to A, because B is then of course causing you some reduction in the wheat production and from Canada, therefore this will be the not best possible solution, then you will prefer probably the A or C, which is shifting your importable goods from Canada and of course creating some space, enlarging your production as much as possible from 2 to 9 or from 9 to 14 to create some spaces for you to have some trade relation and enlarging your market towards to the other nation. Therefore, this location, either A, D, or B, or C, should be determined bilaterally with your rivals to see the best possible option, because as I said to you, trade relation cannot be based only on the export, bilaterally realized with export and import, and you should enlarge or of course increase your exportable goods towards the other nation, but you should also create some spaces for your importable goods. Let's say if it is wheat, then you have to get your rival country to create some spaces for your consumers either, because trade relations cannot be created in other form. And when we are looking to this equilibrium where the terms of trade illustrated, it is supposed that the expected terms of trade realize in the ideal form at 45 degree, where this rectangular right-angled graphic illustrated where production is realized. But as I said to you, if you want to create more trade and increase your trade relations between Canada and United States, the US price ratio, as it is indicated here, the 45 degree to E for Canadian terms of trade, and US price ratio will become 0.5 to 1, because in the TT direction, TT line, it is equally distributed, which is not always realized. And in Canada, when you move to the C, point C, the Canada price ratio between the US, it is 2 to 1, which is terms of trade realized. Therefore, in any cases, if the wheat production improves for the United States, it is creating more spaces for the Canada. And if you move again to the US price, of course, increasing and improving the Canadian terms of trade bilaterally. Therefore, importable goods and exportable goods enlarging at point E to C and E, as it is indicated here, because 1 to 1 terms relation, which is not realized in normal conditions. But if you become regarding to the comparative advantages, if the Canadian wheat market is more competitive, then it should be realized, as I said to you, relative lower cost advantages for the Canadian producers to increase and enlarge the wheat production and become trade partner for the US market. Price ratio, since it is 0.5 divided to 1, it is higher for the auto, and it is more competitive, and it is capital intensive. It should be enlarged and increase to the auto market, where they are having, of course, okay, stop. Yes, they are having higher relative cost advantages and should become a trade partner with the auto. And in this direction, as I indicated to you, wheat production will be enlarged in the Canadian market from 1 to 2, and out bilaterally from 1 to 2. And as it is indicated, price ratio decrease 0.5 to 1, which is considerable price increase and profit created. Its indicator ratio is becoming 2 to 1, and Canada price ratio is also helping hand for enlarging and increasing the market towards to the United States market. And bilaterally, this is then of course terms of trade realized in this scenario. And when we are moving to the next slide, we are observing there is an immiserizing growth, which is the poverty growth. When you are concentrating to the theoretical situation, force Jagdish Bhagwati's theory introduced to the market, and it is of course the economic growth could result in a country being worse off than before the growth, because sometimes growth relations and damage your growth and reduce your market and of course competition, of course challenging power, because sometimes your rival market becomes more competitive and reduce their prices, and zero-sum game is started and user in this game. Therefore growth and of course poverty mustn't be in the agenda. It should bilaterally increasing and enlarging the economy win-to-win scenario, because economy and international trade theories always supporting win-win theory or approach, because if you are expecting to win and challenging power increase and reduce your rivals ability, this is not the solution, because nobody can create bilateral trade relation with you if you are expecting such aspect and such a relation in the international aspect and platform. And as you are observing here, is a rising growth. It is indicated here. The country here is supposed to be the computer importer and coffee exporter. And as you are expecting to enlarge and increase your coffee export, Nigeria to Turkey, because Nigeria is a coffee exporter and coffee producer, then this is then supposed to be, it should become more competitive in the coffee market and coffee production, and as it is in Nigeria, realized in the oil sector. The oil sector is heavily promoted, subsidized, and become very dominant position, oil sector, but as well as is also observed in this direction and reduce the other powerful market structure, such as in agriculture and in other sector where it can be competitive. Because if the oil sector stagnate or exercise any problem to the economy, due to this reason, you are not expecting to become the challenging power only in this exportable goods as a coffee, because as you see here, the coffee market is shifting from A to C, because these markets to enlarge and increase, and importable goods is expected to become reduced as you are expecting in this direction. And when you are looking to this graphical illustration, at point A, the bilateral market for this coffee import, coffee export and computer import in the economy, but when they are enlarging and increasing their economy, the market becomes stagnating and reducing their power, because production is supposed to be enlarged to point C, and of course the importable goods from other country is supposed to become point D, and the of course equilibrium position realized at point D, and this is then of course not acceptable combination for this market, because it is, as you are observing, reducing the growth and of course creating lower level of market structure regarding to point B, or point B is not possibly realized in this market. And when we are concentrating to these terms of trade, we are understanding that bilateral term relations and trade relations should be realized in the terms of trade. Is of course in the international trade theory is a measure of the relative price of export and imports, and it is calculating the ratio according to the two commodities are exchanging between, and it is of course illustrated as like this for the United States and for for the Canada, which we are going to exercise in the following minutes. Since it is the ratio of two commodities exchanging between the two countries, then we are understanding that the terms of trade should be realized in this direction, where both countries export and import coming to the equilibrium position at any point, then this will then create more and more trade relations for the country. Let's have a look at a scenario again. It is supposed that US offer curve is decreasing amount of increase for auto export, wheat import for the Canada, as I mentioned to you in the former example, and less auto exported from United States to Canada, and for more wheat import towards to the United States from Canada. Therefore, terms of trade improves for the in the scenario suggested, and US curve moves upward. An increasing amount of wheat import from Canada is realized for exchanging with auto export from United States. As you are observing here, belly shape, and it is of course causing some enlargement, and it is of course, as I mentioned to you, US curve is upward sloping, increasing amount of wheat realized for exchanging with auto export for the United States. Therefore, this has also meant that US requires fewer auto to export Canada, and more cheap wheat will get from this trade, because you have, by the time when you are enlarging this curve, because of the curve shape, it is connects to the x-axis. Therefore, by time you have to enlarge and increase, because this curve is going to be a vertical y-axis where the wheat production is realized, and when this is realized, this means then at any point of this curve you will enlarge and increase your wheat production, and you don't need to export or increase any in an equilibrium position. You will get always more and more wheat for importation, and you will get less and less because of this import, because wheat production becoming more and more enlarged in this convex position of the United States curve, of a curve, and results of this curve, it is supposed that wheat production will become always more and export one or two cars from the United States. This means this trade relation in enlargement or increasing period of time or years will become more profitable for the United States, because United States will reduce goods amounts to get more wheat, because it is in this terms of trade offer curve, it is indicated that US require always less and less auto to export to get more and more wheat. This is then the scenario, and when we are looking to the other side of the curve where it is realized for the Canadian, you are understanding it is the opposite realized for the Canada, as it is indicated here. Canada is decreasing import for the United States and increasing amount of wheat export for Canada. It is suggested, therefore, less auto will be imported, as I mentioned to you, from to Canada, and for more wheat import towards to be realized. Therefore, terms of trade is improving for the Canada, and Canada offer curve moves downward, and increasing amount of wheat export from Canada is realized. As I mentioned to you, we have to export more and more and less or fewer auto for this trade, because the graphical illustration and the offer curve position is causing this. And this is also the mean that the United States require fewer auto to export more cheap wheat, and of course this is then profitable business for the United States, as you are observing in the intersection point where the equilibrium position realized. The United States will and less out, because the offer curve goes to the vertical position and becomes almost parallel to the wheat, to the Canadian meat market, and bilaterally the Canadian offer curve is becoming parallel to the auto, and is of course vice versa is realized for the Canadian market. Therefore, wheat production is always creating businesses and of course enlarging towards the United States, and auto export which is expensive and expensive product, will require always less and less towards the Canadian market, which is a profitable business for the both countries, as you are observing in this term of scenario. And when we are changing this equilibrium position from A to B, you are understand this will then enlarge and increase, as you are observing here. The auto export will become less, under 20, and wheat production will become from 100 to 160, because, as I said to you, this is because of the position of the United States terms of trade or offer curve, and the Canadian markets of relation may intersect each other from point A to point B, will create more businesses for the wheat, and of course will create and cause less exportable goods, which is also profitable business. They don't need to export more good to get more wheat from Canada, and this is, of course, a scenario how we are going to understand and realize in this direction. Therefore, terms of trade is very helping hand to understand the, of course, the economical impact of the international trade in the economy. When we are concluding this as a terms of trade, the wheat relative price for the United States consumers become cheaper compared to exported to Canada. Therefore, exportable autos from United States to Canada will be enlarged as much as possible. Wheat production increased, and at the end of the day, you don't have it. You have to decrease in amount increase for getting increasing amount increase for the wheat production in the economy, because we have to get more and more wheat for selling or exporting fewer autos. Also, the means the United States require fewer auto to export Canada, as I said to you, and you will get more and more wheat with a cheaper and, of course, lower price. And this is, of course, helping hand for understanding the trade relation between these two countries. First presentation, I am going to jump up to the second part of this presentation, which is a little bit longer. If I am not able to finish it, then I will stop at in the middle of this presentation and then do it next lecture as much the tariff. Do you have any question?
No, for now, no.
Oh, you don't have.
No,
Sir,
sir, the graphs were a bit confusing though. It's just a bit too much.
In terms of trade?
Yes, sir.
You should ask me. Shall I have to go back, or?
No, we would read, sir, and then if there is a problem, we would ask you next lecture, like
Because
next lecture.
you can write all things there. I am trying to explain orally, and it is, of course, better to draw it. When I am able to draw it on the graphic, on the table, on the board, you will understand step by step what is it. But PowerPoints, it is not easily illustrating everything, and pointer I can put to show it as much as possible step by step, but I am trying to make it comprehensive as much as I can.
Okay, sir.
Part of the presentation. You will understand a little bit more, I think. The terms of trade, as I said to you, I try to make it more clear as I can.
Is this chapter going to be part of the exam?
Yes.
It is the, yes,
the
will be in the
midterm.
exam. Yes,
Yes.
it is also in the exam.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Don't worry.
All these things.
Okay.
Yes, everything that we would cover until next week would be included in the exam, guys.
As
Yeah.
you do that.
The
I
teacher.
have. Yes. I'm going to put the presentation for you again. Let's see. You are able to see the presentation now? Let's see me.
Yes,
Are
sir.
you able to? You see the comparative advantages?
Yes, sir.
Do you see this?
Chapter 3.
Okay. Yes. The second part of this. You see these PowerPoints, you said?
Yes, sir.
Is
We
on?
do.
Okay. As I said to you, since we are exercising the terms of trade, and we are going to dip our knowledge and domain for being able to combine these trade relations to understand what's going on really in the market. As I said to you from the Hershey Olin, the factor endowment is, of course, or the reason for becoming a trade partner, because comparative advantages theory is supporting and, of course, becoming more preferable for the countries in the current period of time, because comparative advantages and is the reason for becoming a trade partner in the international market. And due to this, factor endowment theory assess the immediate basis for the trade as the difference between pre-trade relative product price and the trade becoming in this direction to the collaboration. This price depends on the production possibility for curves and the taste and preferences of the consumer, as I have illustrated to you with the production possibility frontier and the indifference curve, where they are becoming to be the best possible option for this country. And if it is directed to the wheat production, you are expecting that they will become more exportable goods for the auto, because in this country there is more wheat production and of course, less auto consumption, and in this direction you have to find a place to export your auto to become a trade partner. In this direction, when we are looking to this example, of course, what is the need for the resources which is going to be supported and of course assumed to be relatively abundant, and of course endowment of the factors observed in your country. It is a graphic that the United States and China are used to produce a aircraft and textile, and the United States capital labor ratio is supposed to be 0.5, which is 100 machine to 200 workers. Of course, there is 0.5 machines per worker, and in China the capital labor ratio is supposed to be 0.05, which is very lower, 20 machines and 1,000 workers, which the division of labor is here. This is then of course the mean that every person do only one part of this production. Every person's contribution to the production operation process is very low, as you are observing here. It is 0.02 compared in the United States. There is of course probably labor intensive, but it is based on the capital ratio. It is based on the technology or high-tech application. Therefore, producers are using the machineries very highly, and this is then of course the reason that they are using 1,000 workers regarding to these 20 machines, and they are using 100 machines for 200 workers for the United States. This is then because they are high-tech and they are workers know-how is high in the United States, and this is then of course the mean that there is of course 0.02 machines per workers, since the United States capital labor ratio is illustrated on the graphic as it is table. As you see, capital 100 United States, machineries and labor 200 for the United States, and when you are looking to the China, of course it moves a little bit be here, yes, 222,000. Therefore it is questionable, the factor, and since the United States capital labor ratio exceeds the Chinese capital, we call this United States the relatively capital abundant country, and China becomes of course labor and capital scarcity or labor intensive country, isn't it? Because capital scarcity can be said, or there is are being employed into this country production operation process. As you are observing, comparing to the United States, it is 1,000 person per 20, and it is in the United States it is 200 persons. It was 200, yes, for 100 machineries. Therefore, this is then the questionable problem in the economy, and it should be the factor endowment theory, as it is illustrated on the graphic. The theoretical suggestion can be, of course, stated the production possibility curve assumed to be a capital abundant, and for the China it is of course labor intensive. Therefore, this is of course supposed to be the aircraft is capital intensive industry, and of course textile is labor intensive in this given scenario. And when we are looking to this autarky position of these countries where they are having textile and aircraft industries illustrated, the textile and of course producer of this textile industry, which is highly vertically realized production possibility frontier or curve aircraft. And when you are looking to the United States production possibility frontier, they are producer of the aircraft where they are having less aircraft. And when you look to these two graphical illustration, you are understanding Chinese textile industry is becoming to the equilibrium position where the curve is tangent to this production possibility frontier, where the budget curve tangent to this production possibility frontier for the both countries. We create this similar scenario. No trade relation is realized, and when you observe this autarky, the intersection and equilibrium position realized for the both countries at 0.6, 0.7 for the aircraft for the both countries. And when you see this scenario, you are understanding United States should become exportable goods of the aircraft, surplus in aircraft industry. And when you are looking to the Chinese production possibility frontier, where the 0.6 is the intersection equilibrium point, we are understanding that there are some textile industry and it should be exported. I think Ashi, you will understand better now this when I am putting this to the scenario, and you will get more familiar to these curves. And from this understanding should be a trade relation enlarged for removing this surplus, isn't it? Because Chinese surplus realized in textile, and of course United States surplus. And from this point of view, when we are looking to the marginal rate of transformation for the China, it is 4 point, and marginal rate of transformation for the United States, it is 0.3, because compared to China is questionable and it is very, very less. Then we have to enlarge our trade relations in the China. As I said, it should be shifted to production from 6 to 13 because there is more surplus in the textile, and in the United States there is more aircraft, and it should be to this direction. And as I mentioned to you, these intersections is supposed to be realized for China at point B, and for the United States it is realized again at a lower point B, 1 unit of textile and 15 units of aircraft is produced. Of course, very, very huge amount of contribution to the economy, because you are giving up textile industry in the United States, and you are giving your almost all aircraft industry in textile industry. Due to this reason, this is then creating 13.4 and 3 units of aircraft for the China, and 15.4 aircraft industry will be realized for the exportable goods for the United States, and 1 unit of textile for the textile, which is also creating some spaces to the other market. But let's see what is happening. As I said to you, in autarky, both countries have the same demand for textile. The result, both countries producing and consuming at point A in figure 3.1, it is illustrated. And this is then, of course, absolute slope of the line tangent to the United States production. Therefore, after the trade or post-trade, continuing until the United States reaching to the B dash and China reaching to the point B, the points at which each country's production possibility curve is tangent to the common relative price line that is assumed to one where it is equally realized. But as I said to you, this is then of course more questionable because the relative price line becomes to the equilibrium terms of trade, and also let the assumed trade, both nations prefer post-trade consumption combination of aircraft and United States exports textile given by the point C. Therefore, to achieve this point, when you are looking to the point, let's see what is happening. I will go back again to the graphic because
Yes, sir.
because you need to see the graphic from 15 to 7 because we are of course supposing that the industry is expanded to the point C, isn't it? Because you have to create bilateral trade relations because you cannot create all the trades, as I said to you, because you are expecting that all the 15 units of aircraft should be exported to the Chinese market, but this is not possible, as I illustrated here at point C, because Chinese producer also expecting to enlarge production in the aircraft industry either. Therefore, when we are looking to this scenario, the bilateral trade relations realized at point C, and the exportable goods is then realized for the United States, not from A, it is realized from C, and this is then of course creating more spaces to produce more and of course export more, and this is then of course exportable minus 9. This is then of course creating exportable goods, which is 6 units bilaterally realized for the Chinese textile industry. Then as you are observing, it is shifted from 6 to 7, and then of course third, it is creating again 6 units of exportable goods, textile industry towards to the United States. Therefore, bilateral trade relation realized here, and of course terms of trade again realized in two nations when they are subjecting to create bilateral trade relations in a given scenario. You have understood this graphic or you don't?
Sir,
I think you understand better.
Sir,
Yes.
at sea, when there is like 9 aircrafts, so they are doing like they're exporting only six aircrafts to China, right?
No, look, I have written here. Look, to achieve this point, 15 minus 9 is 6 of textile is of course the mean that China export 13 minus 7, isn't it? Look here, 13 minus 7, because China is expected, because when we are looking to the first graphic, to the graphic market position is realized, there are a possibility to increase this exportable goods because in the China there is more exportable goods for the isn't it? And it is expected that when the trade relations realize, Chinese producers will try to export all surplus towards to the other nation. Therefore, it will be expected that 13 units of products supposed to be exported, but it's not possible because exportable goods can only be realized between these bilateral agreements, and from 7, which is increasing this production from 6 to 7, then this will then create more spaces and intersection position realized for the both country. 13 minus 7 is the textile export towards to the United States, and 15 minus 9 is again 6 exportable aircraft for the United States, which is enlarging the production from 7 to 9, and which is enlarging the production from 6 to 7, isn't it? Therefore, this is then creating surplus in the domestic market either, because this faces to the production and of course to the consumption in the market, because you want to export, but you want to enlarge also your consumption to create some spaces for bilateral agreements and export and import together. Otherwise, you can do understand? This is how it is realized. As it is indicated here, then point C is beyond the autarky consumption, as I mentioned to you, and each country realize gains from trade to each other 6 point of which is aircraft and import textile for the United States, and vice versa is realized for the country where the Chinese producers and of course consumers is expecting to create with this trade relation, because trade relation is expanding and enlarging the economy as it is indicated in the graphic from 6 to 7 and from 7 to 9 for the aircraft and for the industry, either in the consumed goods and services in the market, because the point C is the internal market consumption equilibrium and the other is supposed to be the exportable goods market in this graphical illustration. You have understood?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Then we are moving again to the increasing returns to the trade theory. The increasing returns, as I mentioned to you, it is based on the economies of scale. Economic understanding is the amount of the production which is going to be produced should be enlarged and increased. If you are producing 1 unit in economy, this will be the masterpiece. As in China, sorry, as in the European countries, especially in the fashion industries, always realize some masterpieces become very expensive, isn't it? For example, Louis Vuitton products very expensive. It can be 50,000 euro for one handbag, isn't it? Masterpiece, unique. But then you are starting to factorize this and become more produced as a serial production, and this production will reduce its cost, and of course, it's creating more space to distribute it and enlarge the capacity of the production and consumption bilaterally in the international market. Therefore, economies of scale is the mean that you are enlarging your economy via reduction on the cost and of course reduce, lessen, but the amount of the selling products will be increased, and this will then of course affecting and multiplying your profit and increasing probably more than your masterpiece that you are expecting to sell into the market. Realize the economies of scale where the produced goods in the greater quantity and lower average unit cost is realized, and then the trade those of lower cost advantages, creating more space for market, because most of the people who are going to buy your products are in the mid class or are in the lower wages or are in the minimum wage countries, and of course minimum wage in the world, and it is of course more preferable to enlarge and increase your economy of scale with amount of the produced goods and services towards to the other nations. Therefore, businesses, that's the reason the China and Brazil and Mexico and Russia, so-called the bridge countries, becoming dominated or dominant position in the economy, because they are having these advantages, because they are wages, they are having cheaper so-called high-tech industries, because they are enlarging and increasing the capacity and of course distributing this technology towards to the all nations, and this will then become an exchanging capacity to the world nations via exportable goods and of course economies of scale, which is increasing the amount of the produced goods and services in the market as much as in this direction. When we are illustrating these economies of scale on the market, we are assuming a scenario again that the United States auto firm and Mexican auto firm are each able to sell vehicles in their respective countries. Also assume that identical cost conditions result in the same long-term average cost curve, which is given below for the two countries. Here, the cost of production, the long-term average cost curve, which is illustrated here for the price and the auto, as you see, it is becoming lower and enlarged. The price is decreasing, the amount of the products which is going to be produce is enlarging and becoming at the lower level where the Mexican producers and of course the US will profit from these businesses. Therefore, economies of scale initially is no basis for trade because each firm realized the production cost of 10,000. Let's suppose the rising income in the United States results in the demand for 200 autos, whilst the Mexican auto demand remain constant. The large demand allow the US firm to produce and take the advantage of economies of scale. Therefore, the firm's cost curve slides downward until its cost equal to 8,000, as it is illustrated on the graphic. Due to this, the Mexican firm and the US auto at lower cost, and with free trade, the United States will enjoy, of course, and export more autos to the Mexican market, as it is illustrated here. Then this is then, of course, becoming flatter, of course, becoming parallel, so-called, to the amount, which is then, of course, the lowest level of the cost. And this then, of course, shifting and enlarging the economic scale as much as education because of these advantages that you are observing and catch up in the international market. The economies of scale, as I mentioned to you, is then they provide additional specialization in the production. And instead of manufacturing only a fewer units of each and every product that domestic consumers desire to purchase, a country specializes in the manufacturing of large amounts because you are and increasing your capacity in the international markets, and this will then increase your capacity and of course the produce goods and services which is going to be sold in the market, and this will then create very preferences to you because of this specialization and allow you to manufacture as a manufacturer to become benefits and of course profit as much as you can, increasing your production and of course decreasing the cost regarding to use capacity increase towards to the international market. Therefore, economies of scale or scale economics is very popular in the international market. China become the leading position in the world, and of course it is expected that in the near future the India, so-called Mexico, Indonesia, maybe Turkey, South Korea, South Africa accelerate their production operation process and become, of course, the dominant position. This is the reason the United States, the UK, so-called the well-known families, you know, the Rockefeller, Rothschild families, are now controlling the market. They are now in the China. They are all investing in China, and of course, this is then the problem because the financial market will shift it, will be shifted towards to the world, and this is then of course problem for the rich developed nations, and this all that you are observing currently in the world coming from these economical problems. You are understanding, I think. Do you have any question? The external economies of scale is of course is also concentrated from this aspect and firm related to the size of entire industry within a particular area. Sorry, the average cost of the typical firm decreases as the output of the industry within this area increases, because as I said to you, if you are concentrating to the Middle East production, you will employ your country, employ your lower cost of production operation process in this country, and you will become dominant position in these Middle East countries. As you are observing in the South Africa, there is Mercedes. In Spain, there is Mercedes. Middle East countries, there is either many multinational companies or franchising companies located in these areas, and they are trying to capture and catch up the whole market. They are increasing their production and reducing their cost towards these nations. Therefore, external economies of scale is also very, very important to combine these economies of scale, because as much as comes dominant position in this area, you are the leading position, and you are, of course, capturing the whole market without any problem. And this is then, of course, very well important for the international economies. And economies is a knowledge about production technology, where it is spread an amount of firms in the area to direct contacts among firms, and as a workers transfer from firm to firm, and this is, of course, shifting and enlarging their and increasing their capability and, of course, the performance in these nations. And you are becoming the challenging in this nation, because you are a franchising company, you have the game theory aspect to play the game, zero-sum game, the position, and if you don't have any rivals who are going to stop you, then you are, of course, become the monopoly in this sector, which mostly we are observing, especially in the franchising companies. They are capturing mostly, the rest of the firms are only profiting with or sharing only the small amount of this profit, and, of course, market, which is not acceptable. This is the reason why the, of course, globalized market and globalized firms are, of course, exercising some problems in the domestic market, because international market are not anymore welcome for aspect. Due to this reason, we have to exercise this kind of aspect in the light of the economy, but of course we have to concentrate our economies either. If we are going to invite our investments, so-called the foreign direct investment, foreign portfolio investment, then we have to exercise some problems. We have to know that we will exercise some problems when they are in our country. If our industries, our rival countries or rival industries are not able to compete in this direction, you will, of course, either accept to become the, of course, secondary or third sector in this market, or the non-tariff measures for excluding this kind of externalities or external rivals towards to your country. That's the reason currently, of course, the conservative aspect again is increasing, because push the button to increase the lower level wages or countries' performance to increase and become dominant position. As I said, to these bridge countries and missed countries, Brazil, Russia, Indonesia, South Korea, South Africa, Turkey, these are all becoming the leading position in the global market. And of course, this is then, of course, questionable for the so-called formal UK, United States, France, who are in the leading position in the agenda, and now they are exercising some problems for becoming dominant position, because they are not only losing their international platform and international capacity and, of course, market, they are also losing their towards to this nation, because their families, these families, I mean, this Rockefeller, Rothschild, they are already investing all financial capacities and, of course, assets towards the countries. And this is, of course, problem, because if the capital is not in your hand, is a problem for the economy either. Product life cycle. I think I can stop. I feel tired because I speak alone continuously. I will stop here, then I will go next lecture to this, and I let you to finish this with this tariff also, because I don't want to go through this. We have some more slides and applications. I think you understand up to now, and after this product life cycle, I will finish. I will continue to finish next lecture with tariff application. Is that okay for you? Because yes, I think it is.
Yes, sir, it's okay.
We go.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay. If you have any question, you will ask me. If you don't, then I will stop.
Thank
you. Is okay?
Yes. It's
next lecture, I will do the also with this product life cycle and some others. And then after next week, we will have the midterm exam. Is okay? Then
Okay,
next week
sir.
I will have some.
Okay,
I
sir.
will have some applications, some calculations, which Omar will like it probably.
Yes, yes. I will. Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Bye bye. See you then. Bye
Bye,
bye.
sir.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you.
Bye bye.
Prof.